All right, guys, welcome to the fifth session today, and we are going to start with the database again because I don't see any database on my system. Probably in the last session we created and we dropped it. So let's try to create, okay, there is a test database, but we'll try to create a new one here. Okay, the very first thing, we'll start with the database. Very quickly, I'll take you through because this topic is covered. I will try to concentrate more on tables today. Database. So in this, what I can do is one is creating a database. All right. The second thing I can do is I can rename it. And the third thing is I can drop the database in fact. So these are the only three functionalities I can see when I'm working with the database. Because database is an empty canvas, okay, in which you are going to store all the tables. So database doesn't have anything like adding a column, okay, inserting a row. We cannot talk about all these things because these are all related to tables, right? So these are the only functionalities what I can do with the database. Now let's come back to the tables. In terms of a tables, what I can do, the first thing I can create a table, then I can add a column probably. Yes, we can add a column or rename, you can say rename, yeah, rename table. Then what else you can do? We can add a column. We also try to see how to add multiple columns at once. That is also important, how to go for a multiple things at the same time. And what else we can do? We can go for modifying a column, maybe. And we can also see how to rename a column. Okay, because this is a renaming a table name. Let me put in the C version table name. This is a renaming a column. Okay, we are just trying to understand how to rename a column, and it's also important to understand how to drop a column. All right, and the next one is altogether you want to drop a table itself. So if you look at this very clear structure about the database and the tables, there are a lot of difference, right? When you talk about a database, we have a create command. We are trying to rename it. We are dropping it. So these are the three different functionalities what I can do. I'm not talking about whether it's GUI or CUI, whatever the concept might be. The only three functionalities which I can do, more than this, I can't do anything with the database until unless I'm a DBA, database administrator. But being in a SQL developer, what I can do is I can create, I can rename, I can drop it. These are the only three functionalities, guys. So the next topic comes here, table. We can do much more. Why? Once you create a table, that's nothing but you are trying to create a skeleton, right? So once you create a skeleton, we can rename the table name because you have created something like a Monty as a table name, but your boss is not liking it. So you want to rename at some point of time. The question also raises most of the time, why you're creating a table, why you are renaming. When you create it, why don't you drop it and create a new table? No, we can't do that. The reason is, of course, I can do it, assuming that I created a table last month with some thousands of records, and now you want to rename a table. So some people will drop it and create a new one. So you're losing the data there. So never try to do on existing tables. If you're creating a new one, you can always drop it and you can rename it, you can modify it. So these are the different functionalities what you can do: creating table, renaming table, adding a column, adding multiple columns at once, modifying column, renaming a column, dropping a table itself. So these are the different functionalities. But when it comes to these are all fine. I can understand like creating, you are trying to do some modifications. What about when I say create table, what happens is practically when you see in the Excel format, let's see in the Excel format, because this is the easiest way to understand. All right, so we have something called EMP ID, nothing but employee ID. Let's assume this is EMP name, and this is something called, let's say, location maybe. Okay, I'm taking some hypothetical information here. So once you take this one, by looking at this, I can say I create a table. All right. By looking at this, I can say I create a table. But what does it mean? It doesn't have any data at all. So when you talk about the data or the information which you're going to load in this table, that will consist in the form of a rows, right? So that is nothing but you are trying to uh, add some data into your table. So right now I can still say my table is ready. Yes, my table is ready, but it's not with the data. So if you want to create with the data, that means we have to start inserting the data. Okay, insert data as a single row. Let's see. And also we will see insert data as multiple rows. So whatever I'm writing comments, we'll try to just write the query under that only so that we can remember what I'm doing. So we also try to save this one. Let me save this on my desktop saying that uh, Feb 13th as my SQL file. So whenever I save it, let's assume I close this one by mistake. And if I go to my desktop, you can see Feb 13 as a file. Now the question is, you saved the query. You saved the query from the SQL environment. What could be the format of this file? If I try to save my Excel file, I know it is XLSX. If I try to save my notepad, it is .txt. If I try to save my Word document, it is docx. If I try to save my PPT, it is .pptx. What I'm talking about, these are all file formats in which the file is recognized. The moment I see this file, I can say it's a Word document, right? That's a icon through which you are identifying. When I right click and go to the properties, you can see clearly what is the extension of that. So this extension will only work in the Word document. Excel extensions will only work in the Excel environment. The same way, when you talk about a SQL file, what you saved, I can say rather a query file, what you saved, which will always have an extension called .sql. So you can see always the extension is going to be .sql, that is nothing but structured query language. Now, can I open this file directly? Because I'm so used to now clicking on Management Studio, which will open the software for me, right? So now what if I can open directly, or I need to open my SQL first and drag and drop this one? Let's see the two ways of doing it because we are at the initial stage. It's better to understand how to work with the files itself. Though we don't have much in the file, let's try to understand this. So I'm trying to open my studio now, which quickly opens up, and as usual it will ask me to connect to the server, and the server is sitting in my own system. All right, so that's a difference. Now this is my editor where I want to drag and drop this feb 13. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible because that is a .sql file which is trying to open in the same format. What happens if I double click on this? We are so used to clicking on the files directly to open the respective software, right? So let's see if it opens directly. Yes. So that means there are two ways of opening your SQL file. The file which I'm trying to upload to the Google Drive, you can just download and try to explore that file through your editor. This is how you can do it quickly. That's it. So I'm not happy with the font size. Quickly increase it. Not going to any options. We have a tools options, but I'm not going. You can simply use control and your mouse pointer to increase or decrease your font size. So let me decrease this so that I can have more space here. All right. So this is a concept talking about a database, talking about a tables, and talking about inserting a data into multiple things. So what happens when I insert a data? For instance, let's assume I've not entered properly or misspelled somebody's employee name. So what happens here? How am I going to do it? It's quite easy in Excel. That's what I know. I've written somebody's name here as employee name as a Monty, but later I think it's not Monty, something else. So I want to change to Ronnie. So how you are going to update these things? Because I've taken the employee name wrong or the spelling wrong. So here comes how you are going to update your database, your table, updating table. Okay, how you are going to update. All right, so I created, I inserted, I updated, but the time comes sometime where a particular record is not required. Maybe a particular few records is not required. Nothing but I'm talking about delete the rows. Delete doesn't mean you are deleting the table, it's a deleting the rows. We'll see the difference here. And also we can use the truncate to truncate the rows. There's a lot of difference, there's a lot of confusion actually. In fact, I can say delete and truncate both sound same when you're talking about data in your Excel. Let me show you practically. If I have a data something like this, assume that this is a data, okay? And what is a delete and what is truncate? So when I use delete command, the way you are using a create command to create a table, I'll use delete to delete the data. Okay, I don't know how to write the syntax yet, but let's assume graphical presentation here. When I use a delete, it will delete the data something like this. That means it will remain your structure as is, but it will remove the entire data. Okay, I understood now. What is truncate then? Truncate also does the same thing. Then why we have a two queries here? Truncate also clean the data. Okay, delete also deletes the data. So let's park this question, very interesting one, and this could be an interview question, and this can be a when you're going for a certification, this is the most important question being asked. What is the primary difference between a truncate and a delete? But as we understood now, the way I'm saying both are doing the same job, but practically let's see is there any difference. But meanwhile, just keep in mind how the delete and truncate works. All right. I have the clear structure now. What I want to do for today session, that is, I want to create a database, rename a database, then I want to drop a database. So quickly, I will start doing this first three because we already have a. Now the question again, do I need to write in a lowercase, uppercase, proper case? Doesn't matter what style of you're adopting, but it's always advisable go for uppercase because a look and feel is really good. Don't go for a lowercase. Okay, or proper case is still good. Okay, so I started learning writing uppercase. So I'm still used to. So the way you start your coding, any programming language, you will get addicted to it. So better to start the way you want it, whether a lowercase, uppercase, or this. Okay. So the very first one I'm using a create. The moment I've written, it's a blue color. We all know the colors. Okay. We have some colors here. Okay. Rainbow colors like blue. We have something called red. We have magenta. We have maroon. We have light gray. We know all the colors from the video. And a create, I want to say database. Okay, everything is coming in a blue color. That means create is a command, database is a keyword. So what is the name of my table? So let's say employee. So why employee name is not coming in the blue color? Because employee is not a keyword. It is my own word. I've invented it. It is user defined a name. So whenever you find some user defined name, sometimes you find this create database as this one. So once I execute this, you will see that a database will be created. But we'll try to execute a little later, but we'll try to see how to modify a database. If I want to modify a database, we already seen how to use alter command. What is that? We need to use alter. When you start with this alter, we need to tell what you're trying to alter. Is it a database? It is a table? Is it a view? Is it something, a procedure? Okay, we have not reached to that level, but at this moment, I know table and database. So whenever you're altering, you need to be very, very specific what you're trying to alter. So because alter can do any alterations. So alter database, and we need to give the database name. So let me say employee, okay, and modify. Okay, modify again coming in a keyword, you can see name equals to what name you want to give. Okay, my old database is this. Okay, my old database is this, and modify with what name? So let me say employee one. So that's a different name what I've given here. So this is basically altering your database. Now this is dropping your database. Okay, drop what? Drop, you want to drop a table or you want to drop a database. So I need to be very specific again. Drop database, and we need to give employee. Okay. Now I can see it is not coming in the IntelliSense. The reason is the table is database is not yet created. And you can see very clear indication. These are the very important steps actually, which you need to notice. Employee, though the spelling is correct, though it is a perfect database name without any issues, like I'm not giving a spaces, I'm not giving any special characters. It is a pure form of text. But still, why I'm getting this error? The thing is, I don't want to understand by going to some sites or something. What is this error? Nothing. Don't worry. Just place your mouse pointer. You'll find that cannot drop a database. Why? What is the fun? I mean, what's the reason we are not able to drop this table database? Because this database is not existing actually in your system, right? So that means we haven't created it. So let me create this. You select the query. If you start using F5, what happens is it will create database, it will alter, it will drop. So never try to use the F5 key directly when we have a multiple queries. What I mean multiple queries, already I have query 1, I have a query 2, I have a query 3. So don't try to run at once. Select the portion which you are interested in, use F5 key or click on execute. Okay, there is one key here. When I'm clicking on, okay, whenever I create a database here, when I click on create database, it has created a database, no doubt. Let me go to a database, and you can see there is an employee database. But am I really clear that I want to do my entire job, whatever the next upcoming tables or procedures or queries I'm going to write? Am I really sure that I'm working with only employee table? not really, because if you look at the top, it's still showing as master. That means you need to change from master to employee. So that can be easily done actually by using a keyword called use, right? Use what? Employee. Now I'm able to see in the intelligence because employee is physically existing in my database. So once you use a is use as a keyword, which will try to make, spelling is wrong. Yeah, what I've written. Okay, so use employee, that is nothing but I'm trying to tell, can you just make this out of so many database? I want to highlight like be in this particular database only. So when I click on Fi key, quickly observe what happens here. When I run this command, it will turn into employee database. That means whenever I want to do any database operation, you need to physically go and sit in the database and start doing it. You are just entering into a database and you start creating a tables, you start inserting a data, you're updating, deleting, what all not. You're doing most of the operations by sitting in the database, not outside of the database. Because it's not a single database. We have multiple, right? Let's assume 10 databases. But what is your target? In which database you want to work? That is what it is going to define. That is use database name. That is database is nothing but employee database. That's it. That's how you'll get it. And beautifully at the bottom, you can see a message. Somebody has to tell you, right, whether I'm doing right or wrong. What is the error? So this is a window, what you can see at the bottom, which will tell you whether the command what you're running or the query what you're running or the instruction which you're given the database is correct or not. So that means command completed successfully. So that means I'm successful in running the very first query. And this one, let me rerun again. What happens? You cannot run this create database again and again. The reason is the database name is already existing. So this is one of the error which you can remember. Whenever you have already a database and you are trying to create again with the same name, it's not possible. Even if you need to add one more extra character to make it different from the existing database that we already know. So next one, let's go for altering database. Altering database, I can do very easily actually. Right click on this and go to the rename, right? Employee to employee one, I can easily make it. But we are trying to learn more of most of the things through the CUI. Graphical is anyway easy. Those who are very used to Windows, they know how to rename this. Right click, rename, delete, whatever you want to do with the so-called menus, right? So here I want to alter the database. So for that, the command I've used alter database. And what is my database name? Employee. And what is a keyword you can through which you can modify? That is a modify and name equal to employee. So this is how you're going to mention. Once I select it and run it, you should not see any errors here. Rather, you should see something, a nice message at the bottom saying that the database name employee has been set. Okay, it is telling you that earlier whatever the table name is there, now database name is there, it's not getting refreshed in my system. All right, so just assume this is an employee one now. Okay, it's already created. We can see at the bottom employee one. Now, if I want to drop employee, now the question is, do I have this employee table in my system? No. When I'm trying to drop, what happens? It will tell you simply you cannot drop this because this kind of with this name of database is not existing in your table. So you cannot drop it for anyway. So let me put it as one. It will accept. The reason is there is a database called employee one in my system. Here also it's still showing error because that no such data type. All right, so I'm using now employee one's database. I cannot create it, of course, but I can alter it by going to two or something. I can drop it also. Once I click on drop, it will be dropped permanently. So these are the three different things which we can only do on the database, nothing else, because database doesn't have any kind of a structured dimensional rows and columns. It doesn't have any form here. It is a simply empty canvas. The way you look at the notepad, which is empty, when you start filling some information, then it is considered to be a database. So here is the same case. Now, the very first one, let's try to see how to create a table. Okay, we know the syntax. We just learned in the last week, but however, just try to uh, uh, see the syntax, how it works here. Okay, the very first one, we need to use a command called create. And I still remember correctly, this create command comes under DML. Is it DML, DCL, DQL, DDL? It comes under the very first one, DDL. DDL stands for data definition language, which you are trying to create something. So here I'm using a table here, create table. Okay, then what? You said you want to create a table, but what's the name of the table? So let me say employee 2. Okay, this is something which you are trying to create. So database name is 1, and here the table name will be a confusion. So let me say something EMP as a table name. Okay, before this, always try to prefix something called TBL. Now again, confusion. What is TBL here? We always try to create some prefix words, something like when you're creating a table, we'll say TBL. When you try to create a views, which you are not aware right now, views VIE. Okay, when you're creating a procedure, we'll try to give something called P, so that we can quickly differentiate what exactly the object which I created in my database. All right, so this is a prefix keyword which you use as a TBL, and it is not mandatory, but it's a very good uh, uh, rule to be followed whenever you're creating, to have a hygiene way of writing your queries, right? So use TBL employee. That's it. We can use a underscore if you want to differentiate. Otherwise, it's a single word. Doesn't matter. Now, once I open this, once I open this, the first thing I need to tell after giving the table name, I need to mention my column names. So basically, you are going to say column 1, and you need to give the data type and the size. That's it. Now close the table. I've done with my first creation of table, but is it really uh, that's all with the table? Can I create some more columns? Yes, by using a comma operator, use one more column. Use a comma operator, use one more. Use a comma operator, use one more. So that means you can start creating as many as columns you want, but it's not really readable. So let me make it readable. Just using enter. For the first column, I want to put it here. The second column, I want to put it here. The third column, I want to put it here. So that's it. This is how easily you can now in a readable format. If you observe closely, the first word which I've given is column name. So the column name can be anything. The way I'm showing in my Excel, employee ID, for instance, employee name, date of birth, his age, sex, salary, a bonus, whatever the columns you want to, in general, you want to create in a table. That's what this area we are going to define column name. Okay. And what is the data type? We have just gone through in the last session. What are the different data types we have? Most commonly, we'll use integer, we'll use varchar, we use date. Int always talks about numbers, and varchar talks about mixed characters and numbers, and also the special characters. Okay. And the third column, let's assume age, which is again an integer. A fourth one, date of joining. It is not a string, it is not a number, it is a date format. So most of the time you'll be using most frequently in any programming language. That's what my observation. Either you'll go for the number, you'll go for the string, you'll go for the date format. So this is how I quickly created my table, but this is not sounding good because we have to really create the column name. So let me say EMP ID. So what should be the int here? I mean integer. So let me say int, and I want to create a column name as EMP name, which nothing but I want to say varchar. Varchar is nothing but your varchar. Maybe I want to go for a 20 size because I'm not expecting my employee name would be going beyond 20 or 25. So that is my assumption. So while creating the database and tables, we need to have a clear plan how much size you want to store in your column. Okay. The next one, we have something called location, maybe. Okay, location or something. Then this fine. So let me quickly. So this is location again. It's going to be varchar 25 maybe. That's it. One thing you need to notice, there is a problem with this table. Okay, the problem here is for the first column, I've given a separator called comma here. And for the second line, I've given the comma separator. And the third column also I've given, which is wrong. We are not supposed to give a comma for the last column, because that's the end of the column. And the best way of creating the columns and giving the commas, always remember that's a golden rule. Use as a starting point, as a comma here, as a comma here. That's it. This will clearly differentiate what is your column and column names, and look and feel is really good and easy to read your tables. So this is how I quickly created a table. Let me execute this. If it runs, right click and select your FIK. It says your command is successfully created, but where it is created. Is it under employee one or somewhere else? So let me click on this, go for the tables, and okay, my system is not yet refreshed. Let me save my query so that I can get back. Maybe I need to close my SQL. Let me open again. All right. So trying to get my query back because I just saved it the way we save it. Okay, I can see my screen is not connected actually. My environment is not connected. I can still go from database engine from here and say connect. Okay, once I go to database, now it should see employee one. Probably my SQL is not getting refreshed. No problem, just close it and open it. Otherwise, by default, whenever you're trying to click on this FI key or refresh button, it should show whatever the new changes you have done for your database or table. So I have two databases here, test database and employee database. Let me increase the font size. That's it. So my employee table is created. I want to literally see how my table looks like. Let me go to employee here, and there are different folders again. As I told you, whenever you're creating a database, you are not physically creating any folders actually, but SQL engine in the server, what happens is it will try to create a structure kind of a folders where you can start storing tables in a table folder, views in a views table. Okay, any database diagrams, you can do it in the database diagrams. You can create any kind of procedures in the procedure folder. So this is not created by me. Whenever you create a database, automatically all these folders comes in. Now I'm interested more in the tables. When I click on this, I should be seeing the table called TBL EMP. So that is what I created, TBL EMP. But what is this DBO here? Okay, but I have not used a DBO dot. Okay, I have not used in my syntax, but why this DBO is coming automatically? Being it is a database object, you'll always find that prefix word, okay, keyword, that is a DBO dot. DBO stands for database object dot table. So that's how you got this uh, table here. When I click on this, you'll find again a subfolders. So this will keep helping you, this object explorer, because you are trying to explore your object through the graphical user interface. So how do I check how many columns I have? Just click on this. You'll see these are the columns which is trying to show up. Employee ID, int. Did I anywhere mention that I want a null or not null? Not really. If you see int null, okay, EMP name null, location as null. That means even if I'm not even if I'm missing any of the parameter, for example, I'm inserting a record. While inserting, I mentioned employee ID, employee name, but I forgot to give location, but still it will accept the record. Why? Because by default, the format is null. Had it been, if you have mentioned not null here as a constraint, as enforcement on this column, the what you learned in the last session, that will make your table, let me say one here. Okay, TBL employee one. I'm creating a new table again. Just run it. You can see there is a table again created. Hope it will refresh. No. Oh, this is weird actually. It's not getting refreshed. So let me save it again. Guys, there is no need to reopen again and again. Maybe it's my system specific which is happening. There's no need to open again and again to see whether it is really the changes are really affected. Okay. So let me quickly open this. So by default, a connection process comes. If you skip it, you can also, okay, let's assume I skip this. Okay, I'm not connected to my database. I canceled it. So that means you cannot see any objects which are in the server. So you need to go to database, just in case if you missed the first screen, and you also can connect this way. Now, what I'm interested in is database. Under the database, I have employee database. Under that, we have a table. So you can see what happened. Okay, let me drop these tables to see whether I have not really created. drop table and table one. Table is dropped. Oh, do you have this table at least? You cannot drop because the table is not existing, but still the table is showing here, which is weird again. No. All right, let's take this way. We have created one table called this. TMP1 is already existing, so I want to drop it before I create table this. Select this. The command is successfully created. So that means my table is created now. Dropped now, sorry. So when you select this again, you can see the command successfully. Now the table I can see, which is the old one, but it's a new one. Now you can see under the columns, we have not null. So it is somewhat refreshed, I can see. Basically, you need to understand what is the keyword called not null here. It is called as a constraints. I want to take this topic very deep later in the upcoming sessions. How to impose some restrictions on your columns. Okay. Uh, Employee ID, what I mean here is nobody can skip that column. You have to enter that field mandatory. That is what the not null denotes here. But if you look at the employee name, it is not mandatory because I've not specified that constraint. If you look at the location, it is not mandatory. Okay, you can leave it. So to give you a best example, if you're creating your Facebook ID or when you're creating your Gmail ID, there are few fields which are mandatory to enter, like your username, how the username should be displayed, what should be the password, what is your phone number. Phone number is mandatory. Country is mandatory. There are a few other things which are not mandatory. So probably for the Gmail or the Facebook, the database, what they are using behind the scenes, they might have put certain conditions. Username cannot be, is not null. That means nobody can skip the password. Nobody can skip the username. Nobody can skip the phone number, email ID, any secondary email ID. So this is how you are going to put the conditions. That is, here also I can specify. Here also I can specify not null. Here also you can specify. So basically, how many columns you want them to be mandatory. For example, location is not mandatory in my case. So that means you can just leave it. But wherever the column you feel that not null is mandatory, just keep imposing them, something like this. All right, so that's about creating a table, what you have seen. But if you look at my table is really, really there, physically existing, something like this. My table is there. This is how I can imagine in the system memory, this is how the table is created with only the names of a table. But really, it is incomplete table because if you don't have the data, so obviously it is not a table. So let's see how to rename it. What do you want to rename here? I want to rename the table with something else. I can do it very quickly by right clicking and going to the rename, but let's see how to do it physically with going with the alter command. Alter command already you have seen how to alter, nothing but you are trying to rename from employee to employee one. Here I want to make a TBL EMP to EMP1. So we have already seen one style that is using the alter. Why don't you use a second way of doing it? That is what I was trying to tell in the last session. We have another alternative of doing the rename also. Let's try to do that. So before this, we need to understand one important point. Procedures or functions. These are built-in functions which are created by the Microsoft itself. For to make our life easy, they have already created certain functions and procedures in the database already. Okay, in this environment, so that we can quickly use it and make our job done. But sometimes those functions or procedures which they've written maybe not suits to my requirement. So probably I'll start creating of my own. Okay, but now I'm just trying to show you how to depend on the existing procedures which is already created by these guys. Okay, to execute that, okay, to execute any procedure, you need to use a keyword called ex, or you can write the complete one. Okay, you can write the complete one, or you can write exec, that stands for executing. Now the question is, what do you want to execute? I want to execute a stored procedure. Something is already stored. Okay, something is already stored by your Microsoft vendor in this environment, already stored some procedure. The procedure name is something like SP. Why have they given the SP? Because they want to differentiate for the table and the procedures. If you see, there are lot of procedures which are existing here. There are so many actually. Okay, these are all created by the Microsoft, not by me. So underscore, when you say, I want to say rename. Rename is something which is already there in the database. But why it is showing some different color? Because these are procedures. Okay, these are procedures which shows in a different color. Now, what I want here, I want to hold a table to, let me say hold a table, then I want to give the new table. This is one way of renaming your table. Otherwise, we have seen how to alter your table name or modifying your name rather. But this is another way of doing it. I just used execute or execute. You can write the complete keyword stored procedure name, and this stored procedure will take two parameters, that is what is your old table name, what is the new table. To make it very simple, let me use a simple sum function here. Okay, I use 10 10 here. I'm using equal to sum. Whenever I open sum, it is asking a few parameters, right? It is asking few parameters. Without satisfying those parameters, I cannot execute or I cannot run this sum formula. So what is that parameters is asking? It is asking two parameters. So let me give that parameter, then only it will give the result. So what is parameter here? After the sum, whatever within the opening and closing parentheses, whatever you provided, that is your input to that particular function, right? So same way here, for the SP, while they are creating, Microsoft is creating, they created only two parameters. One is what is your old table, okay? What is your new table? So it's quite easy. Let me go to my old table name, replacing this, and I want to give a new table as new. Let's say new, something like that. Okay, so I'm executing a procedure, guys. We are seeing for the first time. So there's a lot of difference here. This is, I'm using a CUI method, nothing but character user interface. Through the query, I'm trying to modify database or table, doesn't matter. But here, I'm trying to use the existing stored procedures in order to rename your table or database, doesn't matter. But you need to be very clear what are the two parameters to be given. That is the old table and the new table. Let me execute quickly and see if it happens. Okay, charging any part of the object could not break the script of the stored procedure. So that means it's not working in my, no item by the name table. It's really confusing whether these tables are existing in my tables. I don't have it. Okay, so I'm not really understanding whether I have this table or not, because being it's not getting refreshed. No, it's not understanding. All right, so this is how you are going to execute your procedure. Just try it out in your system. Anything, I'll take it over. Okay. The another way of trying to rename your table. So let's see how to add a column. Let me take a quick pause here. All right, so execute procedure, as I said, SP underscore rename, it is not a keyword, guys. It is a procedure name. The way we have TBL employee as a name of the table, okay, employee as a database. Here, SP underscore rename, the keyword, which is showing in lowercase, okay. Even if you write in uppercase, it will turn into again lowercase, because that's how the function is designed by the Microsoft. SP, they have given a key, a prefix word. The reason is rename is a keyword. So in order to differentiate, they have given SP underscore rename. That's it. That's a simple one, which we are trying to understand at the first level itself, how to execute the procedure. But don't worry, we are going to have a separate session, how to work with the procedure, how to execute them, how to run quickly, how to optimize the code to make your database life easy and your life easy. All right. So here we are trying to add a column. But why do I add a column? Because I already have a create table here with the three columns. I can simply drop this table. I can recreate the table again, right? That is also possible. Yes, that is also possible when you think that your table doesn't have a data. But please do remember, I keep saying this because I have faced this kind of situations here in the live environment. You have a table with 1 million of a data, and you are trying to modify the table name, or you are completely dropping the table and recreating new. So that means you need to have the data again. There's a lot of chances where you are going to lose chances. It's 100% you are going to lose the data. So always use a query system to, in order to add a column, modify a column, or anything. So here, let's try to see what is the syntax first, because I want to understand the syntax. Writing the query is quite easy. So what is the syntax here? Let me put this way: alter. What do you want to alter? Okay, I want to alter table. So do you want to add a column? Yes, I want to add a column. So I need to use a keyword called again add. But what do you want to add? Yes, it's a column which I want to add. But does it have a data type? Yes, I have a data type for that. But do you want to specify the size also? Yes, I want to specify the size. That's it. This is quickly, I'm talking to myself in order to build this query. But before that, I need to understand what is the command I need to use. That is alter as a command. Alter is a command which you are going to use to add any column to your existing table, right? So as I said, my table is having only 3 columns right now. That is employee ID, EMP name, location. So when you look at your Excel, you will be finding one more new column which is going to appear in your database. So what is that column name? Let's see. I'm using again. Okay, I'm using the alter keyword. Okay, alter command, sorry. And here we are going to specify your table. Okay, you are trying to alter whom? That is table, right? So under that table, then we need to provide the table name first. So what is my table? Is it really existing? First, let me check, because don't try to understand select query, because there's a lot of story to talk about. That's it. Okay, my table is existing. I can see. What I can see in my Excel, that's the same format I'm able to see here without any data. It is now empty. As good as is a very neat table without any data, just having the columns with certain restrictions. Alter table, and we need to provide the table name. What is my new table name? Is this? It's very difficult every time writing the name of the table. So TBL. Okay, TBL. There could be a chances where you could do mistake. What is the other way of doing it? Can I just drag and drop this here? Fantastic. So I don't want to write the table name. I don't want to take the help from this, what do you call, from your IntelliSense. I'm just trying to do other way. Just drag it, slowly drop it. And please ensure where your mouse pointer is showing right now. I'm placing here. Excellent. So whenever you're dropping and dragging and dropping it, it's not you manually writing it, right? So SQL will try to follow its own procedure. It will always try to enclose the DBO as a prefix word, and also will try to put it in brackets. Now the question is it mandatory? Yes. When SQL is following, server is following, let's also try to follow this kind of methodology. That is using brackets as a for the DBO, uppercase or lowercase doesn't matter, and dot. Use your table name again with the left bracket and the right bracket. So that's how I just brought in my table from Object Explorer to query window. That's it. So now what I want to add. So I want to learn from my syntax. First, I used the alter command. I used a table. Okay. Let me put this way, table name, so that we can understand. Let me make this small. Yes. Now I'm using a alter table name, table name. We want to add. Okay, we got the table name here. We want to add. So let me add. So after add, what is that you want to add? That is a new column, right? So you want to add a new column. So let's say age, which we don't have, int. So what is that data type you want to give? Always remember, when you are creating for the first time, the way you are giving the column name and its data type and whatever the constraints you want to give, because we'll have a separate session on how to work on constraints. For now, just imagine we have only one type of thing, that is not null. So I always ensure that I give the column name. I'll also ensure that what is the data type I need to give, whether it's an integer or varchar or date. Then also I'll ensure it's a size or not null or any constraint. So here also I'm following the same concept, nothing new. When I say add, what do you want to add? That is a column name. And what you want to put as a data type, that is an int. Let me select this quickly and run it. Command runs successfully. So by this time, I should see in my table a new column that is new. New is being added as a new column in my database. Guys, whenever you create a table in the live environment, what happens is you will never see that the table is going to remain the constant, because whenever you find some business requirement changing, either you will be dropping a table, either you are dropping a column, either you are renaming it, either you are adding, you will be doing this operation forever. It's not that my table is perfect all the time. No, whatever the changes are happening in your business, any strategy changes, it will always impact the tables. That's what I've seen in the live environment. So you need to be master of these queries, how to rename it, how to drop it, how to add it. So I just learned how to add a column, new column. Now, if I want to see if that column is existing in my table or not, let me check my luck if it is getting refreshed. No. Okay, let me use my old command, select star from table. That is, what is my table name? TBL. Okay, employee new. So let me put this here. I don't know, write it. So let me see. Okay, now you can see Now you can see there is an employee ID, existing one. There is a one more table which is existing one, column which is existing. This is something which I newly created. That is, let me put this as comment. So this is what you added a new column. This is how you are going to add a new column to your table. So how you can add a multiple, because this is also important. Sometimes there might be a requirement like where you want to add multiple columns at once. Okay. So have you written the comment? Yes. Okay. Adding a multiple columns. So I'm going to use the same thing, no different. But the only thing is it will add only one column at this moment. But what if you want to add more? Okay. Let me see if I can do this way. I just said alter table. Then I'm using a keyword called add. Then I'm using a column name as in. So what if I say age is already there, so we cannot use it. So let's say uh, uh, maybe address. Okay. Uh, DPT, let's say DPT, depart name can't be integer. So let's say varchar some 20. Okay. I added the first column. So how do I add the second column? Now let me copy and paste it here. DPT1, this is varchar 2. I want to add one more column. This is 2. I want to add one more column. Is it possible to add so many columns at once? Because I just learned a simple query how to add a new column to my existing database. But now we are trying to see that if I can extend the same query with the same thing. I'm trying to add in a multiple lines so that we can easily read it. So let me put this add at the top so that we can really differentiate. Okay, so what is missing here? What is the problem here is the last column should not have any comma. As I said, like the last, being it's a last, we are not going to use any separator. Separator is basically used to separate between the columns or the table name. So I'm just removing it, and I want to execute and see if it works. So I'm selecting this entire part. I'm not running F5. Select the portion and use the F5 key. If it is saying your command is successfully done, let me run my this one select query to see. Don't look at the select query now. This is quickly how I added multiple columns into my department, department 1, 2, 3, that's what. So if you go to your Excel, this is how your table is looking like now. DPT, DPT1, DPT2. All right. This is how typically your table is now in the database, and this is what you are able to see. Still, I'm not happy because we have to add to insert some rows into this table, right? All right, so we have created multiple columns at once. Okay, at once, if it is a different one, also you can mention. If it is an int, you can mention. If it is a date, you can mention. And we all know how to use the data types effectively now. So let me go for modifying a column. So again, a question is, what is a modifying a column? Okay, whenever you are trying to modify, please ensure you're also changing the data type. Yeah. So it's not that you are modifying only a column name and the job is done. We need to also ensure what is a, for example, DPT3 is there. Okay, DPT3, you want to give a different name because it is not acceptable in my business. They want something a different name there. So whenever I want to alter, okay, or modify rather, we need to use the same alter command, but we need to mention the data type also. Let's see how to do this. Alter, we need to use the table because you are trying to alter the table itself, right? So what is the table name here? I need to go back to my table. Let me copy this, or you can drag and drop it. As I said, I'm just pasting my table. So once you use alter table name, then what you are trying to do here, you are trying to alter it, right? So you need to use alter again. All right. You need to specify the column and column name. Okay, whatever the column which you are trying to give. So let's say the column is, how this works. Alter table name, alter the column, and the column name is department, and the data type is varchar, and I want to make it as 20. Okay. So here we are not specifying anywhere. Actually, if you look at very closely, we are not trying to mention anywhere which column we are trying to modify it. So the column, alter column department varchar. What happens here? Oh yeah, sorry. So basically what we are trying to do is something which is DEPT3, we are trying to change its data type, or we are trying to change its size. Okay, for example, earlier my database, my table is having a DPT3 column with a varchar as a data type and the size as 20. But my situation has changed now because the department name is not sufficient in 20 characters. I want to extend it to 30. Either you can change the data type, either you can change the size. So I'm using the existing column only. We are not renaming it. We are modifying in the sense existing one, its data type we are trying to modify, either size or its data type. So let me run this command and it is done. Uh, Maybe I can see or not. Let me refresh this. If I go to columns, now DPT3 earlier was varchar 20, now it should be 30. Yes, okay. So modify is basically talking about existing columns. If you want to change its data type and its size, and it's possible by using a alter command. For instance, you used something called amount, which is a column in your database, which is just it was earlier it was a int, nothing but rounding off the numbers. But your business is demanding now, can you put that amount column along with the cents? They want $100 dot 50 cents. So when you want to show the decimal points also, we are going to use a float data types. As we learned in the last week, you can use int or float. Int is just making a round figure. If you talk about employee ID, we can use int there because we will not have any decimals for your employee ID. So for example, if your amount is int, you are trying to modify amount to float. Okay, that's how you can simply change to small int, big int, or varchar max, whatever the different kind of data types we have, we can start using all those. So here we are just altering the, modifying the column rather, and let's try to see how to rename. Okay, just now I learned a new way of doing renaming. So let me copy the same thing again. We rename the table. Let's see if we can rename the column name also. Okay, here I'm using the same execute procedure. Okay, you are renaming from this table. Okay, this is your table name and this is a new table name. But now I don't want to change the table name, rather I want to change my column name. So my column name is DEPT3 to, I want to change to department. That's it. So once you use this command, what happens is it will try to rename the column itself. So let's try to run it. So that means, did we change anything here? No. It's need not to have this GPT before, because as we have only one table. Let me try this way, but otherwise we'll try to go with this old model. Okay, guys, we'll try to see this as a procedures related information later, but that's how you're going to rename a column. Okay, we'll try to just try to look in the next session. Otherwise, end of the session, why this is not working, because I think it could be an installation process if the some of the procedures not properly installed for the sake of tables, for the sake of databases. This is what the problems we are going to encounter. So let's see how to drop a table. As we already know how to drop a table. So let me use a simple command, drop a table, table name. That's it. This is how you're going to drop. And I'm not dropping it because I want this table. All right. This is just dropping a table. Before we actually get into inserting of data, which is going to be again a new topic for us, we have seen how to create the table, modify it, add a new table, and drop a column also. Uh, okay, let's see a dropping a column, because we have not seen the dropping a table we have seen, and we have not seen a dropping a column here. If you want to drop a column, again, the same case, we need to use alter, and we need to use a table name. Let me try to modify the existing one so that it would be fun for us to see what is the change I'm doing. Okay, modifying. And here I want to drop table. I'll use the existing one only, which I use for modifying. And what is the difference I need to make here so that we can make this a different syntax for dropping a column. Okay, first I'm using alter, I'm using a table and a table name. That's it, quite clear. Earlier we are trying to alter the column, but this time you don't want to alter. So what do you want to do here? Actually, you want to drop it. So instead of alter, we are going to use a drop as a keyword and use a column, and just remove the data type, because while dropping we are least bothered what kind of data type it is, what kind of data it has, doesn't matter. Because I'm just interested in dropping a column. So existing query, how you quickly modified it, just copying and paste. Stealing your own code always better. Okay, that is instead of using add here, I used a drop here. So alter table, table name, drop, column, column name. So let me run this. So the table, I don't know, I'm not able to see. Okay, it is dropped. Let me see if I can drop 2 also. Okay, let me see if I can drop 1 also. It's not getting refreshed anyway. Now if I run this, I should be seeing up to department. Let me remove this DPT also. DPT is also removed. All right, so I left with only 4 columns. That's how quickly I could able to drop any column. But please ensure that when you're dropping a column, if it consists of data, make sure before dropping, is it really required? All right, so let's try to see how to insert a data into a table, not into a database, into the table. So we need to be clear with which table you are inserting the data. So we'll use with insert. Okay, here we are going to use into. The reason being is you are inserting into which table. Okay, we need to mention the table name here. Okay, whatever the table name might be, then mention the column list. Column list in the sense how many columns you have. I have employee ID, employee name, location, and age. This is my column list. After that, you need to mention what values you are entering. That is open bracket, close bracket. Again, you need to provide column values here. Let me make it a little bigger. All right. To put it this way, this is a syntax. I'm inserting into a table. This is a column list. And what values I'm giving? These are the values. That's it. This is my syntax here. Now let's begin with really inserting a data into this. Okay. So if I want to insert again, I'll just follow my syntax blindly. I'll say insert into what table? TBLEMP. Okay. Well, I'm not getting new here again. I have this table. Okay. So this is my table here. Insert into this. After that, what columns you want to give? I want to give a columns, the columns what I mentioned here. That is, we have EMP ID, EMP name, location. So let me see if I can write everything or I can copy from somewhere from my table. First column is, you need to open and closing parenthesis. You need to mention the column list here. So in order to mention the column list, say EMP ID, comma, then I need to use EMP name, then I want to use a location, then I want to use age. So these are my complete columns for that particular table. So I want to provide a values for it. So you need to use the same format in the employee ID, we need to use something employee ID as 123, employee name as let's say Priyanka here. Okay, location is Pune, and age I want to use like 15. This is what complete set of record for a particular user. Okay, particular user. So this is how I just finished. Values is a keyword. Yeah. So if I need to put it in a single line, this is how it looks like. You are inserting into a table the table name, and these are the employee tables. So what if you want to drag and drop all your columns into your canvas? How you're going to do it? Simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to first drop the table name here. Okay, just like that. And whatever the columns I require, I'll keep dropping it from my table. So let me drag the column name here. It's done, comma. I want to drag the employee name, drag it. Okay, done. I want to drag the location. Yes, dragged. And I want to drag the age as well. That's it. But whenever you're trying to drag or when you're writing manually, there is a simple difference. What you can see is it is trying to put that brackets before and after of the column, which is ideally that's how the SQL try to identify the columns. But even if you don't use, it's fine. If you follow the syntax, it's still good. So this is how I just inserted a row into my table. Just let me run this. Okay, so when I ran this, it is coming into different errors here, but let's try to understand the errors. First, it is trying to say invalid column name Priyanka. So is it a column name Priyanka, what I mentioned? No, it's not a column name, it's a column value. But what is the error here I'm getting? As I understood, as I learned in my previous one, whenever you're talking about a numbers, let me put this way, numbers, okay, and the strings, there is a difference. There is no need of quotes for the value. Okay, enclose in quotes. That's it. That means wherever have a string, Priyanka is a name which is a text string. So let me put it in quotes. Let me put it in the quotes. That's it. So whenever you're trying to give some text information, we need to always enclose in single quotes. So when I run this, let's see what happens. Now it is running and successfully telling that one row affected. Now so far we are seeing something called commands executed successfully, but this time I got a different message. It's saying one row affected. What is one row affected? That means we physically inserted a row into the table as a row. So let me select it. I'm using this query, but I haven't spoken about it. We'll see later. I'm trying to select the data from my table. So when I select this, you'll see one particular row is inserted. What happens if I try to run this query again? You'll see the data will be inserted again with the same data, but I don't want to insert. Let me use something else. 456 here. I'm saying Babu, who is from Hyderabad, and here is something 26. I'm trying to run the. Let me put in a different line so that whenever I want, I can keep loading the data. Okay, this is one query. This is one query. This is my second query. In the second query, I want to change to 456. This is 123. This is 456. Here I want to say Babu, and he's from Hyderabad. And here I want to say 26. So this is my second row is ready. Let me run this again. Okay, one row affected. I'm copying it the same row. I'm pasting again. This time I'm saying I'm running out of names here. So 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Some PSID here. I'm saying Mumbai, this is some 8. Okay, this is a new row which you inserted. So when I run this, I got this. So when I select my all rows, okay, I'll talk about the select case later, but I want to see the data at this moment. Now, when you see this data, the data is inserted automatically, okay, through the help of your query. So if I run these 3 queries at once by selecting this, you'll see a duplicate records which are going to be inserted, okay. And the fun part is we are always specifying along with the table, the column values. So what I mean is you are telling what are the columns in my existing table, then you are specifying the values. But what if I don't specify the column names? Will it take? Let's try to take a look at this. I'm pasting this. But this time I don't want to specify in which columns I'm inserting a data. All right. Hope you understood what I'm trying to say here. I'm not specifying the column names. I'm directly putting the data here. So here I want to say some 001. Here I want to say Pooja, who is from Hyderabad. Let's say 40. That's a data which is going to straight away into my table. So let me see if it runs in this way. Oh, it's working in this way also. That means there is no need to mention the column names. But what if I'm missing some parameter, something like I'm not interested for this first column and I want to run this. What the problem here? The table is consists of 4 columns and you are trying to insert data into only 3 columns. So this is a big issue here. So in this case, we need to ensure that we are providing along with the column names to ensure you are providing. For example, I provided EMP ID. So that means here I want to say something like 555 as a employee ID, but name I'm not interested. So I'm leaving it. I want to give employee ID, I want to give the location, I want to give the age. So in that case, there's no need to mention the employee ID here, and you provide only those fields for which you want to provide the data. So this is a one more way through which you can insert the data. So what is the primary difference here? Okay, now we have a one more issue here. We cannot skip employee ID, okay, or uh, basically we cannot ignore the employee ID because it's being a not null. So that means it is a mandatory to enter the employee ID. And there is a one more important error which is showing up here. Here I said EMP name, but I'm trying to give a number. Location, I'm giving a Hyderabad, which is correct. Age, which is 40, I'm trying to give the right number. So please do remember when you're trying to work with the insert, there are a lot of issues you can come across. The first way is easy way. The thing is, how many columns you want, you are putting all the columns and you are giving all the values. In the second case also, I'm giving all the columns and giving all the values. In the third case also, I've given all the column names, I've given all the values. In the third case, I am interested in only 3 columns and I want to provide 3 values only. So in insert into statement, you will need to define the table name first, where you are trying to insert the data into, list all the columns, the way we are doing for the first one, list all the columns. Maybe you'll use all of them, okay, but maybe only few of them. And then list all the values, the way we have done for the first, second, and third. Notice that the column value should match with the column data type. That is what the error we have done here. I'm seeing employee name, but I'm not giving an exact value of employee name. Rather, I'm giving employee number here. So that means I have to give the right name here. Let's see some name. Okay, some name here. Now it is matching, right? First you said employee name, location, age. So when I try to insert this. Okay, so what is the error again? I try to fix my error, but still there
Employee
is an
ID.
error. Yes, exactly.
Employee ID is mandatory.
So employee ID is a mandatory, so that's why it is trying to knock off here. It's not allowing me to do anything. So now you might have understood the importance of using a not null. Again, it depends. I cannot comment on which field should be mandatory, which field should not be mandatory. That is only the project manager or the person who is involved in the project can decide what are the columns are mandatory. So that means I'm not really satisfying the condition that is this is mandatory. So employee ID. Okay, so that means I need to provide the employee ID here at any cost. So 555, which I cannot leave it blank. Name I can ignore. So let me remove the employee name, which I don't think so it's required for my table. So if you see employee name is null, that means it can accept null. So let me run this. Will I get into errors? There are 3 errors which you have done primarily here. One is you are trying to insert only 3 column values. That's fine, but we've done a mistake here. That is the data type is not matching. That means you are saying employee name, but you are trying to provide the value as employee number. So these are the smallest issues which we can come across. Please ensure we are giving the right columns with the right values. If you're not interested, follow the complete procedure. How many columns you have, try to provide all the values. Okay. So in case you are inserting all the values in the table, you don't need to list all the columns after the table name. if you're following all the columns, that is employee ID, your employee name, location, age, you're providing all the values, there's no need to give the column names the names itself. That is what we try to understand in this case. Let me put one more query here. Okay, in this case I'm not using anything because I'm satisfying all the conditions. I'm satisfying all the conditions. So in this case, there is no need to provide any kind of column names here. But column names are required only when you are really specific, like only these columns to be filled. Rest of the columns, it's fine. But what happens if you're not, if you're missing any of the column, how the database is going to look like? Let me show an example here. I've inserted a one row. Second time when I'm inserting the row, I've not given the employee name. That means what is there in the B2 cell now? That is B3 cell now. What is this cell denotes? This called as a null value. This is a very important word, which is the most commonly frequently asked question. What is null means? Null is nothing but a blank value or no value. Okay, I don't have any value there, as simple as that. So when I run it, you may encounter a null value. In Excel, you'll see a blank cell, but here it will always fill with some text called null. Null. Null is nothing but it's a no value. Though you see some text there, it says as good as no. So that means anytime if you want to update a value there, it will still allow you. So that's how you can start inserting the data into your database, into your table. Anytime if you think like you want to download this data, just what you do is right click on that, select it, copy it. When you copy, only copy, what happens, let's see. This is really important for the people who are working as a data analyst or business analyst, who always keep going to the SQL and copying the data and pasting in Excel to do further analysis or to send out the report to someone else. When I paste this, surprisingly, it is not copying the column names, which is missing. Again, don't go to this SQL and try to copy individual column names, which is not good. So this is the one way of copying. And let me see how to copy along with the headers. So the first way I did is copy. Now you're trying to copy with headers. So you can also use this Control C, Control Shift C, so that you can copy along with the headers. This is most important thing when you want to download the data from your SQL. This is how simply you downloaded the data. All right. All right. So let me make the screen visible so that you can see what all completed. Okay, so now you can see the first statement has inserted a record, that is Priyanka. Second date is inserted for Babu. Third one is inserted for Monty. Next one is for Pooja. Okay, in this, the column, we don't have a data, so obviously it is going to show a null value there. That is for the employee ID 555, we don't have a data. In the last one, I'm trying to give everything. So I personally prefer, because being in live environment of SQL Server, I personally prefer listing all the column names, because this approach would work even if you add a new columns to the existing table. That's the best approach of following inserting a data. And no doubt, I'll tell you the end of the session, the secret. You're learning a lot of things, but is it really important? If it is important, how quickly, smartly you can execute all these queries without writing much. Let's see that later. So all right, so let's try to take a look at how to use a select a case, okay, select a statement, command rather, on the table. So what is the impetus of select? The select always helps you in retrieving the data from your tables. Maybe one table or two tables or multiple tables, doesn't matter, but select always help you in retrieving the data in different fashion. You can retrieve the data, whether the what you have seen just recently, I mean, we can interchange the columns with or you want to view a particular person information also is possible with the help of your select query. So let's begin with the select query here. If I want to select if I want to start with the select query, I need to use the select a command here. Okay, this is basically to retrieve the data. I'm using a star. Okay, it's a general English statement, like I want something from that one. So that's how you try to use your English command, right? So here I'm saying select, okay, something from what? That is nothing but your table, right? So select star from what? That is your table. I am not writing anymore. I'm just dragging and dropping it. And when I run this query, what happens is it will display the raw information, what is there in your table. That is, star denotes all. Okay, star has a different usage as well. That is a multiplication, actually star we basically use. But here when we are trying to use within the select and from, the star changes its behavior. Star stands for all. Star stands for all. All means all the columns. I'm not really specific what columns I want from my table. I want everything. Historic data, present data, what of the future data I have in the database. I want everything. That means if your table consists of 7 rows, it is showing you all the 7 rows. That is what the select star talks about. Now let's see how to select few columns only from your table. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, I'll remove the star. Why? Because when you are trying to use the star, it is trying to denote all. But now I'm very selective. That means I want to select only EMP ID and I want to select only age. So what does it mean? That means I need only 2 columns to be displayed from my table. It looks so funny when you use the select star from table, we are getting everything. When you're using few columns, you are getting only few column information. Yes, when you are working in the live environment, you are going to deal with millions of data. So never try to use select star from table. What happens is sometimes it may go up to 10 to 15 minutes to run your entire query, because multiple people are using, or the end users or the developers or business analysts are using the database, and it will slow down the performance. So it is always advisable, don't use this command select star. Use a specific columns. Okay, slice and dice your columns. Pick up only those columns which are really important for your reporting. Not exactly, because if I have 50 columns, what's the fun of downloading entire information? I need only employee name, and it's how much sales he has done, what is the total profit he made, and which year, which month. Only 4 columns is enough in order to generate my report. Then go for it. Like, just select only few columns from your table in order to make your SQL performance better. So this is okay when you're trying to work on your personal system. Doesn't matter if you're using a star, but in real time, always ensure you are going to use only few columns. Again, the same question, but even if you're selecting a few columns, but again, it is trying to display the complete data, right? Though it is a 2 columns, it is giving you the complete information. Let's see how to make further slice and dice with a select query to get only the required information. For example, we have historic data in your database right from 1947 to till 2021. What happens? Somebody, your boss asked, can you generate just download the data from SQL of latest month or last day or last week or whatever. So in that case, you'll not download the entire data into your Excel, and you filter with current date and copy that, send it through the email. It's a wrong procedure. Don't do that. You are trying to download some huge file, which takes so much of time. So what we can do is select only few fields, and we are going to put a beautiful word which most commonly we are keep using it, that is a where condition. That means when you say select these employee IDs and by age, but only you can specify. Let me put the entire data set now. Let's see, I want to display only Babu information here. That means I'm very particular about Babu. Whatever the transactions being happened on Babu, I want to display only that Babu information. So what I can do is, you can say select star. Let's see one method here, that is select star by using a where condition. So where condition, how to use a where condition here. Let me make it smaller so that you can see. So select star from table, but here I want to specify where. Now, whenever you use, okay, whenever you use where stands for out of so many things, you are particular about one particular situation, one particular record, or one particular set of data, or one particular department data maybe. So if you say where condition, we need to specify based on what condition you want to retrieve the data. For example, if I say EMP ID, okay, if I say EMP ID equals to with whatever you have related to EMP ID, please retrieve for me. So once you are putting a where condition, what happens is you are trying to make your life so easy in retrieving the data, right? So maybe the best example would be, as I said, select star from table where year is equal to 2021 out of so many data, right? Out of millions of data. So you can say something like this. So you can say in future, year equal to 2021, or you want to use the logical arithmetic comparison operators which you are going to talk, something like greater than. Okay, if you say greater than 2021, or if you say greater than uh, 2019, if you say that is greater than anything 2019, it is going to retrieve all the data. But for now, we'll not got into something arithmetic operators. Let's leave it. I'm just using a equal to operator. Uh, that is employed equal to 1 to 3. So that means I'm very specific about a particular data of a particular person. That's how you can get it. Or if you are interested, you want to get only those people who are living in Hyderabad. So let me say location equal to Hyderabad. Is it possible? Let me see how many people are staying in Hyderabad. Babu, Pooja, and two people who doesn't have a name at all at this moment. Those are staying in location Hyderabad. So that's how you can further slim down your query. Okay, from fat to fit. That's how you can slim down your query by using a where condition. And this without where condition, nothing. I don't want to use the word nothing works. You have to use mandatorily this where condition in order to retrieve the smallest portion from your big data base from the big tables. That's how you are going to use the where conditions. So we'll see more about the where, but at this moment, just try to have a limited knowledge of how I'm using the where condition here, because there are a lot of combinations I want to use by using arithmetic operators, logical operators. I want to use a comparison operator so that you can have the complete version of how to use the where conditions. All right, so we have seen how to insert a row in a particular table, and we also seen how to select the data from an entire table. Now, if you can see, there are 7 rows. But what if somebody asks you to insert a rows, a 2 rows or 3 rows at once? It is not really possible for me to write the query again and again, executing again and again. So let me take one example of the query. I'll copy this. I'll come to this. What happens is you can put this entire columns and put all the values. can I say, can I say something like this, comma, being I'm using all the columns, it's not mandatory, as you know, I can remove that. Then I'll try to copy the same thing again. I'll put it here. Then this time I'll say something 000, and this is Nilima. She's from Hyderabad. This is 20. Okay. So this is 18. This is, I'm not getting any name. And this is okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to insert a few rows at once. How I'm doing it? So I'm using insert command, same format. I'm using the values, but this time I'm doing little bit different. I'm using a comma operator to extend my values to other. So let me remove this error. There is an error in this. So let me run as is to understand what is the mistakes can happen when you are trying to insert. So here, the first and foremost error, what I've done is by using a comma operator at the end of my query. Never try to use a comma operator at the end. If possible, try to use this one, which is again not mandatory, but if you follow, it's good. So let me run this. Again, there is one more issue which you are going to come across. So when I run this, again, it's giving me an error because what the mistake I've done is I used a comma which is gone now, but there is a problem here. When you say insert, you're already saying values, but again, why you're repeating the values here? It's not really required. So this is how the full-fledged your insert query will look like without any values. The first time you'll have a value, second time you'll not have. So again, if I want to do the same job, I'll just copy it and paste it. Here I'll say 333. Here I will say, and I will say something like Hyderabad. Don't take to hearts this age or only hypothetical numbers. That's it. So what I did, I could able to insert 3 rows in a single go. That is Priya, Kavita, Nilima, 3 people along with their age, along with their PSID, employee ID, whatever. So we are just inserted just like that. And when I try to select this, I got the entire data set. Okay, I got the entire data set. So far, just like that, I inserted like 10 rows into my table. Now you can see 10 rows were inserted into my table. This is a multiple rows inserting. But again, my question remains same. What if my boss is asking to insert million rows? All right, I'm very good at my skills, keyboard skills. I can insert by taking one day, I can insert 1 million rows, no doubt. We'll see the real quick answer for this question. Though I'm giving a weird answer, I can take one day to make my boss happy by inserting 1 million rows, but that's not the answer. For now, let's understand like I want to insert 1 million rows in the same fashion. Okay. which is again, of course, good. I'll take 1 day to insert all the rows, but we'll see at the end of the session how to insert 1 million rows or 2 million rows or 10 million rows for that matter in your database less than minute. We'll do that. So this is how
Again,
I
one question here. So if you're while you're inserting three,
now. So what we have done with the where condition, we have seen how to from fat to fit, okay, fat to slim, how you can make uh, further drill down your query to make the refined data, to get the refined data. That's quite interesting by using the where condition. Where is a keyword which can do a lot of magics in your queries. Okay, so we have seen how to insert multiple rows, how to use a single row, and we are able to select the data. Everything is fine. Now, what if we want to update the data? Okay, I know there is an update command, but how to use that? Okay, let's try to take a look how to use the update command. First, I want to go with, do you have that comment already here somewhere? Okay, this I will remove. Insert rows into multiple, which we have seen here. I want to make it clear so that comments can be further, you can utilize. Update table. Okay, update table is a comment here. So let me write the syntax. You are going to use a keyword called create to create something. You are using the insert command to insert something. You are want to drop something, you are using a drop. So it's quite obvious, like you need to use the update command because it's a one of the command in one of the subset language, that is a DDL, DML, DQL. Okay, so we know there is a command called update, but how do I use it? First, you need to use a keyword command called update. You need to we need to mention the table name, okay, because you are updating a certain value of your table. Let's try to give a clear picture here. Understanding is more important. When you look at the table, you'll understand this entire data. What you're seeing, it's a table, right? So you are updating a table under which a particular column value you are updating. Okay, that is what we are trying to do here. So you need to take the name of the table first. Later you talk about the column. Later you talk about the cell value. So that means the first comes the table, next comes your column name, next comes your value. This is how the table further drill downs. That is, first table name, you give mention the table name, next mention the column name, next mention the value. So let's get into this. Select table name. Okay, that is update table name. Then you need to use a keyword called set. What this set denotes here is you are going to select one of the column, let's say employee name in this case, or let me put the column name because I have not written the syntax completely. Set a column name equal to what value you want to give. Okay, what value you want to give, update for the matter, from, that is from which table, that is this is my table. Okay, not required here. As we are just updating here, we are not using that condition. Update table name, set column name equal to value. That's it. Once I enter this, your update command is complete. So let me see if I can do this quickly. I'll say update as a keyword. Table name is your table name, which I can drag and drop here for simply. This is my table name. Then I want to set column is nothing but you can take the column from here, but I want to copy this column name. So let's see if I can copy. Just to select the any of the cell value, go here, copy along with the headers. Just copy it and paste it. This is one of the way to quickly copy your column names. Otherwise, you have seen the second way, that is dragging and dropping your employee name, whatever the column name you want to copy. Just set employee name, that is a column name, equals to, I want to say Monty. That's it. That is so simple. You are able to update the table. You are trying to set the employee name should be Monty. Let me quickly do a big mistake here. That is, when I run this, 10 rows are updated. Excellent. Within no time, I could able to update. So let me go select star from table. Excellent. My job is done. I want to update a column name, that is employee name, with Monty. And it's done the right job. It's done the right job because you wanted, yourself decided you want a name called Monty there. But did you mention for which record? No, that parameter is missing. So this is very dangerous. Before you use, ensure that what do you want to update. So it will update with same information. So this command is incomplete if you don't put the condition called where. So that means if I say update with where condition. So let's see update with a where condition now, the same one with just using the update with, let's see, where condition. Now here what I'm saying, update the name, set column name equal to, if I say Kavita here, but where location, only people who are living at Hyderabad, I want to name them as a Kavita. Okay, I said it. So what does this mean actually? So here we are trying to set the name, all the employee name as a Kavita who was staying in a location called Hyderabad. So when I run this, you'll see only few rows will be updated. Is that so? Let's see by the select table. Select table, I keep running it, so I kept it here. Now you can see only those people who are staying in Hyderabad are Kavita. You can see here, rest of the things are not considered. Rest of the things are not considered. So we need to be very, very careful whenever you are updating. Whenever you're updating something. So this is very dangerous because it doesn't have a where condition. Now let's try to see how to update with a okay, before that, let's try to delete the data because we want to insert a fresh data again. Don't worry, I'm not going to write the query because already query is on the top, sitting at the top. Now, if I want to delete the data, what happens? Let's see. This is, I'm using, I'll also show you how to update multiple columns, but before that, I want to delete this. I want to go for delete data from table. Okay, it's quite obvious. Again, we are going to use a delete. Okay, delete from which table you want to delete. Okay, you want to delete from this table, right? You want to delete from this table. Once you say delete from this table, the problem here is whenever you use a delete command, okay, delete command, what happens is it will delete entire thing. Now let me use truncate here. That's what was the difference which I was talking about. Truncate. Now I want to take a quick pause here to see if anybody can answer what's happening here. All right, let's try to see what is the primary difference between the delete and truncate. Okay, when I use delete command, it will delete the data, but not losing the structure. Okay, that is what the delete is. Delete will delete the records from the table by retaining the structure. Excellent. Now, what is truncate then? Truncate will delete all the data from your table by retaining the structure. What? Did I given the different versions?
It's the
No.
same thing.
Both are doing the
No, it's the
same
same
job.
thing.
Both are doing the same job. But let's see in action, what is the difference? Both are doing the same job. The command, the way I write is different, but both are doing the same job. Let's see. I'm very excited to delete the data, but at the same time, I need data so which we can insert later. Okay. So I'm trying to delete the data now. I'll say delete from table. That's it. 10 rows are deleted. All right. Do I have the still structure in shape? Let me see. My structure should be intact. Okay. That means my structure is there. Okay. Let me insert data into this again. I have the query, nothing to worry, and there's no need to write. Oh, 3 rows are inserted. 4 rows are inserted. I can select this entire thing again and run it. You can see how many rows are affected. You can see from here. Before that, I want to run my select query, which I keep running to see the data is loaded or not. So I have some 10 records here. I got back all the records. I've not done any magic. I'm just running my previous queries. That's it. All right. So here, what is the truncate? Let's see. We have seen practically what the truncate is doing, delete is doing. For truncate table name. Okay, that's how it works. So truncate we have seen, delete we have seen. Let's see the truncate. When I say truncate, oh, it is also deleting, but let me go back to the select and see, is it erasing my structure? That is more interesting for me. I can understand now both are deleting the data, but structure wise, somebody is doing any harm to my table. Let's see. Oh, it's both are retaining the structure, both are deleting the data, but still I could not able to figure out what is the difference. So let's see in action, what is the difference. So before that, I need to insert the data back to my table. So that's quite easy. I'll select all these related insert commands. I'll hit F5 key to get the data back. That's it. I got all the data. Let me see practically if I have the data. Yes, I have 10 records now, 9 records, whatever. Now I have the data here. Now if I go to truncate and the delete, both are doing the same job, but the catch is here. the delete command can have where condition and truncate. Hope you understood what is this exact difference. Delete from this table, truncate table name is both are doing the same job, but in case of delete command, I can use a where condition. That means when I go to this, okay, when I go to this delete, I can put a where condition here where location is location equals to, if I say Hyderabad, so that means only people who are staying in Hyderabad, I don't want the data. I want to delete it. But in case of your truncate, I cannot use where condition because it will not allow you. Truncate will not have any further commands, further extension of the query. So that means truncate is only truncate. You cannot use further commands to be linked up with the truncate. So that's the biggest problem with the truncate. But otherwise, truncate is very good command to be used. So here I'm trying to delete only those people who are staying in Hyderabad 1, 2, 3, 4. I should not see 1, 2, 3, 4 because this is a Hyderabad 20 for some reason. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means the 4 records should be deleted now. When I select this delete record with a where condition. So where you are going to see very commonly now when I hit Fi key, 3 records only were affected now. Now let me select the record again, select the record. I can see 3 records are gone. Okay, so please do remember where condition, where we can use. This is most important. Where condition in which situations I can use. Whenever I'm selecting the records, okay, I can use the where condition. Whenever I'm updating the records, I can use it. Whenever I am deleting the data. So these are the only primary 3 important things out of which you can't think about where condition actually. Whenever you're selecting a data, I can use where, okay, where location is Hyderabad, where age is greater than, where department is finance. You can put lot of condition to stream to cut down your data. For example, here we have data, right? Here I want to say something, I want to filter out, let's say we have some data in Excel. In Excel, how do I filter the data? There's a huge data and my boss is looking for only one data which is related to, let's say Pune. Okay, so what I do, simply I'll go to auto filter, I'll try to filter the data with Pune. So this is how I'm trying to slim down my data. Okay, customize data. So in terms of SQL, if you want to customize your data or you want to get the refined data, required data, business requirement information, okay, current data for that matter, you are going to use a where condition. That is the importance of using where. In other words, those who are extensive knowledge of Excel or beginner of Excel, they can assume where is nothing but like a filter. It's like a filter. Okay. Now, why to use in the in case of update? As you have seen, the biggest problem with the update command, if you don't mention what to update with the where condition, it will update the entire table. That is the problem with the update. So you need to always use a where condition with the update. And delete, you already seen practically, if I don't use where condition, it will delete the entire data. But if you are very particular to delete data of a one particular information or one particular person's information you want to delete, a particular row you want to delete or particular rows you want to delete, you need to use a where condition. So these are the different areas where you can implement where condition. These commands always in the real time I've seen always goes with where. You'll never use straight away select star from this. You never use update this column without where condition. If you use, you have seen the problems, right? So select case, we don't have any problems. We are just retrieving. But the problem is with the update command and delete command, because update is updating, delete is completely deleting the data from you. That's a few things which you need to keep in the mind. I'll take a quick pause here before we go ahead further. All right. So whenever there is a requirement to create this kind of table into your SQL, so obviously what I'll do is I'll try to copy the column names. I'll go to my SQL. I'll start coding it. That is create table. Okay. Monty. Then I'm using all the column names. So I have a name here. I have a sex here. I have age. I have a team, I have NOC, something, then I have a year, I have something called games, I have year, this is city, this is sport, this is event, this is, okay guys, don't worry, these are only just column names. So I'm opening the bracket here and closing the bracket. Now what next? We need to give for name what is the data type. It definitely it's a varchar, so the size would be 25. Okay, I'm happy with this, comma, and sex is going to be again a varchar. It can't be 25, it can be 10, that's fine. Age is not going to be varchar, it is an int. Team is again a varchar. NOS is a varchar. Games is a varchar. This is not anything. This is a date. This is a season, varchar. City, a varchar. Sports, varchar. Oh, I created the table, but now the biggest problem I'm going to face is inserting data. Okay, let me copy quickly insert command from here because I want to insert the data. All right. Now here we go. So we have the insert data, but this is not what I want. We want all the columns to be pasted here, and we need to start injecting the data into SQL, which is quite impossible. What I'm doing is wrong. What I'm doing is completely wrong. Because can you look at the data? Guys, just look at the data. What kind of data I have is a different thing. What columns I have, that is a different thing, because I'm not worried about what data it is. I'm worried about what is the size of the data. Let's come back and see. You can see it is 271117, nothing but 2 millions of data, right? 2 millions of data. If you start inserting with the kind of method, what I said, insert, it's not 1 day, 2 day, it will take a lot of time. And that is not the way of doing it actually. Now let's do a quick way of doing it. Uh, Watch it guys. So for this, what I'm trying to do is I'm not using a query method. I'm trying to use graphical method. Graphical method, what I mean is I'm trying to upload this entire Excel into SQL as a table. Let's see. Now, first for that, we need to go to the file menu. I repeat, we need to go to the file menu. Then, sorry, let me take you this way so that you can have a clear idea. Now click on the tables, any of the table, okay, under this employee, because you are interested under the employee database, under this table, you want to create a new table. When I click on it, you are generally supposed to say what? New table, right? So under a new table, whenever you click on the right click option, you'll get the menu for new table, filter table, refresh, whatever. So go to the database and let's try to take a look at what options you are getting. Here, when you see, we are getting a new database, but I'm not interested. But there is something hidden, not hidden, but there is an option here, task. When you go to the task, this is the first method. Right click on your database, click on the task, click on something called import or export. Now the question is what I'm doing actually. Am I importing? Am I exporting? Exporting, importing. Importing in the sense I'm getting something into the database. Exporting in the sense I'm taking something out of a database. So I think it's a importing, right? So click on importing. So this is the initial screen which you are going to see on the screen right now. So there are few parameters which you need to be very confident. Data source. You should be familiar with the data source. What is data source? My data source is Excel. All right. So let's select the Excel here. Okay. My job is done. Now, what is the next question? Politely it is asking, can you tell me please, where is the file? Okay. No problem. Just click on the browse button. Click on the desktop. Click on your, saved. Okay, I have this file here. Okay, 31 MB file. Oh, fine. So once I selected a path, because you need to tell the SQL BIOS, this is an Excel file which I have on my desktop or whatever the sheet I write. So here it is by default selected as 97 2003 or 2000, whatever the version, doesn't matter. Let it go with the default. And a very important question which is going to ask you, do you have the first row had a column names? It's always S, because SQL already identified in your Excel, we have something headers. So always you select this one. If you don't have table headers, you are going to uncheck this. Now I'm going to say the next. The file with XLSSB extension. The file. What happened? Is it not?
It's comma separation value, CSV file.
CSV file? Yeah, yeah.
CSV there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I used this for ClickSense application. So that's why I converted into a CSV to show as an example. Just Resume recording. I'm going to the employee database. I'm going to the task. I'm going to import. Once I click on import, you'll get the very first screen where you are going to specify what you want. That is which one you are looking for. Excel, then select it. We have other sources we'll discuss later, but this something which you want to quickly see it. Then it is saying this 2007 or whatever the version, doesn't matter. Now, of course, destination is what? Now you need to understand from where to where. Okay, that is, I'm coming from Excel going to SQL. That's it. Now it is asking you, are you still happy with the database in which you want to create, or you want to change your mind at this moment? There are a lot of databases here, but if you see, none of them are my use because they are the system databases. What if I have a different database like finance, HR, we have operations, we have a different database, we can select that table. But for now, I'm using the same database. We have only one. Uh, because if you don't find your database, always there is an option to refresh it to see the latest databases. And once you click on the next, it is asking you, you want to copy the data from one or more tables or views. And the second one is write a query to specific data to transfer. We'll go to the second option later because this is the first time we are seeing how to upload the data. The second option is telling you, you want to write your own query. That means the data is 2 millions of data, but you don't want to upload all the data. You want to upload the data based on certain conditions. What conditions? Maybe I want to upload the data where location is Hyderabad. That's how I can just make this table specific to Hyderabad people. So you can use the write query where you can write your own query. But at this moment, I'm not going because once you become the master of using a where condition, when you come here, we can play around with this query. I'm going with the copy it. Just once you click on it, this is a very important one where it will try to tell you what is the database name you want to give. So select this option within this bracket and bracket, specify the table name. I'm saying imported underscore data. That's just for fun. I'm giving that table name. Imported data is my database table name. Once I say next, next, you are going to screen, amazing screen, where it is going to tell you how much time it is going to take, how many records as of now uploaded. You can see the complete stats. That's what you can see. Once you say next, you'll see the complete stats here. So going to the next, it's trying to analyze your complete data. Is it your data is right to get into this database or not? Is there any data issues? Is there any errors? It is going to prompt you everything in the next upcoming screen. It's taking some time, but you'll see fair enough. Now it's okay. There is a one more option, maybe in 2012. It's asking, do you want to run the package? So next, say it's simply next. It is trying to run. Oh, it has run behind the scenes. So completely remove this. So finish. Okay, now this is a place in a different versions, we'll have a different skills, but finally this is what it says. I'm trying to install the data flow track for you. It's running the command behind the scenes. It's trying to validate. It is going to tell you how many records were so far success, how many warnings, how many errors. So it's taking 8 remaining. So probably it will take some time because it's a personal laptops. Definitely it will take some time. Otherwise, when you're working in a live environment, it will not take not even 30 seconds or so. So it's saying executing is success, validating is, even it will try to validate the data. Is it a very structured data or not? Because SQL will not accept any unstructured data, right? That's what we know in the initial 3 items remaining is still doing the job. Anytime you can stop it. Now my table name, I should know. My table name is imported underscore data. All right, so it's trying to give you the complete information how the data transformation is doing. So far, what is the amount of records being recorded in the database? If everything is fine, you'll get a success message, or else you will find some here and then some errors which you need to go back to your Excel and start editing them properly, get the right data. So this is a place where you can get the complete history, what is happening. So it's still in 25. All right, so the data is transfer. Let me close this. That's it. Once it is done, I don't think so my refresh is working, but oh, excellent. My imported data. Now, if I want to use select star from, if I want to use some select star from this imported table, what happens? Let me see. it's executing. Why it's taking so much of time? Because the reason is it is 2 millions of data. Had it been, if I say where team equal to China, team equal to United States, probably the search would have been very smaller. But here I'm trying to record, and it is also showing how many seconds it is taking to run this query. That's what I said. In real time, also never try to use its select query. It will take ample of time to. It will take its own sweet time in order to retrieve the complete data. Oh, okay. Somehow it could able to do because my system is little faster. Maybe query and executed successfully. Okay, it's fine. It's executed, but how much time it has taken? 24 seconds it has taken to retrieve all the data from my database table, and these are the number of rows which are there in the table. Now you can see the entire data of your Excel inserted just like that, just like that. But what do you think? Is it the way of creating a table? Still, I say yes, because we are trying to learn the reality of writing your own query in order to create the table. But this is the way I did is uploaded data. That is how in the real time works. Nobody will sit and write a query like this to create a table. Nobody will try to use a insert command. Okay. And somebody asked me how to, out of 50 columns, if you have how to select few columns. That is also a very interesting question. So let's go back to that one. What I'll do is the query happens within no time. Okay, just watch it. You'll under, and you also understand how the SQL will try to look at the way to write the query, how to indent them, how easily you can write them. So right click on this, and you'll be surprised to see that I'm not writing any query. The SQL itself has written a query here. Okay, the SQL itself has written a query. You can see all the columns of this table as written automatically by SQL itself. And what you do now? Okay, what you do now? Something like sex I don't want here. I don't want age here. I don't want team here. I don't want NOC here. I don't want year also in this. That's it. That's how selecting the data from graphically, and you can just get only the required columns from here. That's it. Anytime my query is still running, you can stop from here and run it. You can see only the few columns I got because I don't want unwanted columns to make my Excel busy. So that's how you can make life easy by right clicking and selecting select top 1,000 rows. We'll talk a bit more about what is top. Okay, top has its own importance. We'll talk about it, but this is how quickly you can write all the column names. So I'm not writing it. If you see, I'm not writing it. I'm just dragging and dropping. I'm using an option called right click and select top 1,000. And if you put these columns here, let me increase this. The other way of doing it is, if I go to columns, I'm interested in name. I'm interested in what is the team. I'm interested in NOC. This is the one way. You're very selective of the columns. Otherwise, you can select the complete column folder and drag it and drop it. Let's see what happens. Oh, you got the column names here. This is the one way of doing it again. Initially, how I used to do when I was not really clear with this, so I used to copy this, maybe go to Excel. There are different ways. I'm trying to show you how you can do it. This is initial stages where I want to have a particular columns. It's taking time. What I'll do is I'll paste in the Excel. I'll try to copy the column names, and again I build a query, which is again uh, not a good way to do it, but this is simple. See, you got all the column names. Right click and right click on the table and say select top 1,000. That's it. So two things, secrets, which I told you, like we will reveal at the end. And that's what I'm saying. So once you copy and paste here, I used to, now I'm not doing it. Just paste it. Somebody told me games is not required. Okay, remove it. Somebody said city is also required. Then I used to write my select query, select these columns from table, which is also a way of doing it, but very time consuming. Don't do this way because you have just found the easiest way of doing it, that is selecting the table from the table. So we answered two questions here: how to insert millions of data into your database, how to get all the columns at once on your screen, and you can eliminate those columns which are not really required. Now, if I want to learn the hygiene way of writing the code, there's no need to go anywhere. Just see the way the SQL itself is written. It also prompted along with the comment here. You can see it is writing a comment also. And you can see it is written the column and it is use the separator as here, use the column name here, use the separator here. That's how beautifully it is written, the command for you. Okay, this is a hygiene way of writing the query, because once you start practicing the way the SQL is teaching you, just go with that, and everything will be a similar, because most of the developers follow the same structure. All right, guys, that's all for today, and we'll see more in the upcoming session. And